I'm trying to figure out this one thing, or I'm writing something and I don't know what to do. Does it just clearing your mind and just going to a different place help you creatively?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely helps me. And I'm like a big water baby, so I'll
Mm.
often do meditations in the tub. Like I have a tub almost every day, like in the middle of the day
Mm.
when I'm not on set. Obviously, that would be awkward.
No,
But
bring
yeah,
me the
I
tub on set,
yes.
please.
Where is my bathtub?
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 474. But more importantly, welcome to the beginning of the 9th year of the podcast. Yes, 474 marks the nine years of doing this podcast. And I'm still just having so much fun, and I have a lot of great episodes coming up. Super excited. And if you're listening to this right now, you notice that there's a new song going on because I change the song every year. Art versus Science, Parlez-vous français? That is the song. It's a phenomenal song. Go look it up. I'm just having a blast with this song. I've been obsessed with it for a while now, and I couldn't think of a better song to use when it was time to choose the new song. So that's what you're listening to. But I also have to give a shout out to my phenomenal guest today. Lisa Rose Snow is on the podcast, writer, director, actor, content creator, just a phenomenal person. And I had a really fun chat with her, and it's just I'm excited for you all to listen. I'm excited to get into year 9, so everybody sit back, relax, and Lisa, take it away. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. How about yourself?
Also going very well. I just had a sneezing fit, so that was excellent time.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, that's no problem. As a life rule, I'll say bless you 3 times, and then after that, I'm just like, no, now you want attention. Stop it. You need to stop.
I know. I'm one of those people that like never sneeze once. I sneeze like my record, I think, is 27. It's very embarrassing.
Whoa.
And people are like, okay, stop.
Wow.
I know. It's really, my nan used to do it too. I mean, normally it lives around the 10 mark, but yeah, it's a real thing.
After 20, like, did you have whiplash? Did you have a headache? Like, how do you recover from 20 sneezes?
I don't know. I was like dizzy. I was lightheaded. I had to sit down. But it was also kind of funny, so I was also laughing, which is just, it was not a good, it was a messy combo, let me just tell you that. It
Gotcha.
was messy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, of course, messy. But yeah, still, I'm glad that you lived through it and that you're here today.
Yeah, you know what? I've come a long way. Here we are. Here's where I landed.
There we go. How's your day been going so far?
I've had a lovely day. Yeah, a real good day. I did one of those sensory deprivation tanks, like a float. Have you ever done that before?
Oh my gosh, I want to do one so bad.
Oh, I honestly think that they're so great. They're so relaxing. And it's long too, right? Like you're in there for an hour, which is it's a long time to be in the dark with your thoughts, It's really good for the brain and the body. Yeah, I love them.
So when you're doing this, what did you experience? What did you think about, or were you able to just kind of like, I don't know, did you listen to the water? Like what happened with you?
Yeah. I mean, the place that I went to, they have an option where you can like listen to music in there. Like they have music playing. But I like the silence, and I like to try to sit in the silence as much as possible. So it's like the process of like just trying to shut my brain down, but it always goes off, on a journey, but it's about, I just keep trying to bring it back to the silence. And it's really interesting because you're like floating, but it's also the same temperature as your body. And it's so dark, you can't see anything, that what you can get to a certain kind of Zen place inside of yourself where you don't even know you're lying down. Like you could be standing up, you know what I mean? Like, cause there's no difference between your body and the environment. So it's really trippy. It's pretty spectacular.
Nice. It's one of those things that I'm very interested in seeing what I would do in those types of situations. Just because, like, I don't know, I think it was somewhere in Florida. There's, the most quietest room around that they lock you in. And a lot of people go mad after, so, I don't know, 15 minutes, just because they're not used to just not hearing anything, or they're hearing sounds from their body that maybe they've never heard before. Yeah, I mean, just that whole aspect of, hey, let's get in tune with each other. Let's see. And when I say each other, I mean brain and body. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
And so would it be a pretty smart assumption on my part that you do meditation, or would you consider this your form of meditation?
No, I meditate every day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely, definitely a form of meditation for me. I don't float that often, but I definitely meditate often. Love quieting the mind. So noisy in there.
And that's another thing that I'm always in. Like, I tried doing meditation pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was one of those people that's like, hey, let's self-help now. Let me listen to me. Yeah. But I could not. My brain would always take me right out of it, because I would be sitting there thinking to myself, okay, meditate. Let's meditate and meditate and meditate. And then as soon as something would happen, I would get super excited, because I'm like, oh my gosh, something happened. And then it would bring me right back. And I was just like, come on, brain.
Right. Have you tried doing a guided meditation?
No, I mean, the only kind of things that I would do is just things that, like, I would YouTube, like meditation something, or like, like relax, something like that. But one of the things that I have a friend who does Reiki, and
cool.
Yeah, and she was just telling me, maybe like tones and background noises work best for you. And I'm from Oregon, so just like the woodsy and rain, that stuff kind of appeals to me a little bit more. So once I got that combo, I was able just to relax and just kind of zone out for like 30 minutes and just like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's like, and there's so many ways to do it, and I feel like when I first started, like, I was just like, I'll just sit here and meditate, and I was just like, could not figure it out. But I've done, like, I love a guided meditation. I love like music or tones. I love sound baths. So I love all that woo stuff. I'll try any type of meditating for sure. See what sticks, see what feels good. I mean, because it's not a one size fits all. There's definitely different types, and they definitely resonate for different people, and sometimes for different people at different times, like depending on where you are and how in or out of touch you are with your head and the rest of you.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And just kind of hovering back to, just like clearing the mind and things like that. Do you always have this sense of, when you're working and you're just like, man, I'm trying to figure out this one thing, or I'm writing something and I don't know what to do. Does it just clearing your mind and just going to a different place help you creatively?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. definitely helps me. And I'm like a big water baby, so I'll often do meditations in the tub. Like I have a tub almost every day, like in the middle of the day when I'm not on set. Obviously, that would be awkward.
No, bring me the tub on set, please.
Yes. Where's my bathtub? Yeah, I definitely do. And, I've even done some like super kind of out there play with some of my own writing where I'll try and do like almost like channeled writing where I'll go into like a deep kind of meditative state. And then as I sort of come out of it, just start stream of consciousness writing and see what comes out. I wrote a pilot like that in 2 days once. It was really, really fun. And I actually feel like was some of my better writing too. So it's interesting to play with it just to see what happens. It's all imagination in some form or whatever,
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's always funny when you find that particular way of writing and you're just like, oh no, does this mean I have to do this every time? Does this mean I have to be tubbing every time? But oh no.
Yeah.
So what attracted you to the entertainment industry?
Great question. I feel like I feel like I've always been attracted to it. When I was very young, probably about 6 years old, my parents took me to see like a professional theater show. And I think it really opened my eyes to that was even a thing. I was watching the people on stage and I like remember saying to my parents, like, that's someone's job. And they were like, yep. And so since then I was basically hooked. So I started in the industry as an actor. And I really think a lot of that, well, I mean, I love acting. I love performing and stuff, but I do feel like that is because that was what was visible to me. I had certainly had never seen a female director. And I guess I knew that women could write as well, but I certainly didn't understand it like I understood someone singing in front of me on a stage.
Right.
So it was a long time before I found my way behind the camera. And I do think that comes down to a lack of representation. And I think that is starting to change for sure. And I think that like in my own work, I try and really, champion women in all the different aspects of the career so that there is more visibility so people can realize that, there are jobs out there that are creative that isn't just performing that you could do and get people excited about it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a fantastic thing that you're just like, no, let's champion and make this more aware that no, I mean, women can do anything they want on a film set, any kind of job and things like that. And it's crazy to me that that's just not the norm. Well, obviously now it's probably, getting a little bit more normal, not totally normal, but it's on its way. But it's just amazing to me that like, yeah, there are women directors. What's weird? Like, I don't understand why people are weirded out by that. Or women that are badass producers and writers and just studio heads and stuff like that. I'm just like, wait, why is that surprising? I don't get that. But yeah, I'm glad that you are championing that. But yeah, just like when I remember having a conversation when what was it? When Patty Jenkins was directing Wonder Woman. It was just one of those things that I was super excited for. And I remember getting into a conversation with somebody just being like, hey, she almost wasn't going to direct Wonder Woman because she, they didn't think they had the chops, the studio. And I was just like, she's an Academy Award winner. What is that? What is that? What? Like,
yeah.
huh? So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Ah,
It's all crazy.
wild.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. But and that's that's one of the things that, again, talking about it earlier, how the beginning of the pandemic, just kind of doing a lot of soul searching and just kind of uh, things that I can do, just because I feel like in the past of the podcast, it was just, hey, let's talk with everybody, which that's still what I like to do. But now I feel like there's this overwhelming sense of, I've been doing this for a while. I have a voice, and I want to use that voice to promote more
Mm,
people in the industry that aren't getting promoted more.
mm,
Whether it be females in the industry, people of color, LGBTQ plus, just things like I. That's what I want to do now, because that's something that
mm.
I just want to use my voice for a positive impact. So that's
Yeah, that's awesome.
that,
Thankful that you are doing that.
it's something that I told my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely," and yeah, and it's just, I don't. That's just where I am in life right now, and yeah,
Mm.
definitely anything I can do to amplify voices. That's what I'm gonna do. Um,
Yes, love that. Love that so much.
where it's just been this thing where I'm just like, we all share this planet, so why don't we all just be friendly to each other? So,
It
uh,
seems like such a simple yet radical concept, like
right,
kindness, you know,
right. It's
just kindness.
it's such, and I feel like sometimes when I say it, I feel like people will call me a hippie or something. I'm just like,
Hmm.
no, it's just being nice to each other. When did that become not the cool thing to do, or the lane? When did being kind to each other just go out the window? I'm just like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. People are so, it seems like people are so fear based,
Mm,
and I mean, the world is scary for sure, but, it's like, but there's still so much kindness and so much love. And through the tragedy, there are always heroes and helpers. And it's like, just like leaning into that doesn't mean you're taking away from the things that are happening, but
mhm.
it is possible to move through the world with a lens of like kindness and compassion. And I think that ripples out, and it's so important on an individual level, but also, like you said, like with using your voice and in any leadership roles and in the content I make. Like I've turned down projects that I'm just like, like I just don't feel like this story is going to contribute what
Right.
I want to contribute to the world. And, it's sometimes you have to be able to say no to things if they don't align, and if they're not, making the world a better place. Not that everything has to be this like big, huge thing, but,
Right.
sometimes there are projects where you're like, I think this might be stepping us backwards. I want to at least sidestep or, ideally be stepping us forward
Right.
versus moving backwards.
Right. And one of the things that I was super just like, yes, I would love to chat with her, is just the fact that you do a lot of work with children and children's programming.
Hmm.
Just because it absolutely warms my heart, just seeing like same sex parents, or just
Hmm.
things like this that are in children's programming, so that it's just like getting kids and the younger generation just like, that's normal. What's weird? Like, yeah, he has two
Yeah,
dads. Anyway,
totally.
moving on. Doop 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 doop. It's just,
Yeah.
it just always warms my heart when I see stuff like that, just because that, when I was growing up, obviously that content wasn't there, so it was just like,
Likewise.
yeah. And so is when you're kind of um I'm trying to phrase this question delicately, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Like what was the process of you just going to the creative side and saying, "Look, I want to do more, content like this. That stuff that I wasn't around for me when I was younger."
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like a lot of people are starting to think like that. And I tend to find myself aligned with people that take steps like that. Like whenever people are like, what's your thing? And I always say that I like timeless stories that smash stereotypes, celebrate the underdog, and inspire hope.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is radical that it's still smashing stereotypes to see two dads on screen, but it is, and it's important. And it's like when you said about, where did I get my start? I got my start because I saw someone doing something, and it's when I was very young, and it's like normalizing that in children's programming is so essential, because people, you remember the shows you watched as the kid. You remember the things that stood out to you, and like these things have impact, and that those impacts ripple on. So for me, whenever I do any work in sort of the children or the preteen, tween, teen realm, it's so important that those stories that are, representative of the vast, diverse world that we live in, and that people can feel not alone when they watch that kind of content. And I feel very lucky that a lot of the programs that I have worked on have been created by people that share those same values. And that's probably, why I get hired on them. You know what I mean? Like it's because we are speaking the same language and hoping to have the same effect. And it's powerful. It's when I direct some of the kids in them, or when I hear feedback from kids who've watched them, that they feel seen and that they've been given a chance. It's really special. It's really humbling. It's wonderful.
Well, and one of the things that I just love knowing is, obviously with your work behind the camera, and we talked about your writing process when you're tubbing. No, but like, do you think that has also informed the other aspects, whether it be like your acting side or even your directing? Do you think that's made you a more well-rounded individual, just learning a lot of these different traits?
Totally. Yeah. I feel like they all help strengthen each other, because ultimately it is all storytelling. It's just figuring out it for this story, which is my best way to contribute. Like to me, it's all storytelling. I feel like sometimes I feel some people might prefer me to be in more of a box. Sometimes I'll get that, but are you actually a writer or are you a director? And honestly, those people, I'm just like, okay, like, okay, yeah, no, I'm both. But like, well, what am I here for? Is it a directing interview? I'll say I'm a director. Is it a writing interview? I'll say I'm a writer. But like, I feel like you don't have to live inside of a box. And I think that I'm a better director because I was an actor, and I'm a, better writer because I'm a director, and because I've produced, and like all of the hats fit together, and they come in quite useful. I was on my last movie that I was directing, and it was very early. It was like 6:30 in the morning or something. We went to shoot a scene, and we realized that we would need to combine two scenes to sort of make everything work. But because of the time difference, our writer was in LA. We weren't able to get them to rewrite the two scenes into one. And so the producer was just like, well, you're a writer, just go write it. So I was like, oh yeah, okay. So like went off to my little corner, 10 minutes, and I'm like, well, what about this? And then it's like, yep, that's it. And so, it's just like, it's like that only happened because I am all, I don't fit into one little tiny box. And so like those kind of skills, I just can't see how they would ever hurt. Just the same as like, the skills that I learned as a waitress or a personal assistant or a piano teacher, like the piano teacher is a great example. I played the piano for years and years. And in the same movie, there's a scene where one of the girls plays piano, and I like checked in. I'm like, okay, did someone get her the sheet music? And there was like all this, oh no, well, blah, blah, blah. All of these valid or not valid excuses as why she didn't get the music.
Right.
And then again, it's like, well, our composer's not here. So it's like, okay, cool. So then I went to the piano, very kind of quickly figured out what she had to play, like played around, figured out the notes, then like got out a big piece of paper, wrote out the like the score, and then I drew a keyboard. I drew a keyboard and like labeled the notes and like made like a little chart, like this is where, because she kind of knew how to play the piano a little bit, so she wasn't coming from zero. So I'm like, these are the notes, these are what you have to play. And then I like went and brought it to the actor, and she was amazing. So she was like practicing on this like little piece of paper piano I drew. And then she came down, and when we went to film the scene, she was able to play it, you know? So it's just like, you never know where your random skills are gonna come in and help, you know, which was such a fun moment, because it's like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to get mad because something happened that she didn't get what she needed? It's like, no, you're going to flow and you're going to solve it, and you're going to tap into those skills that you practice when you meditate, and flowing and releasing, and, you know, and then like lean into your kindness and like the root of compassion, which is how I like to lead my sets. And then we got a great scene, and it looks awesome in the movie, and no one's any of the wiser. And when you go, right?
Right. It's, you know, it's one of the things that having worked with, you know, not young people, but younger people, like maybe out of high school or just about to, you know, leave high school or whatever. And they're just like telling me how they know everything. And I'm just like, look, here's the thing that I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to sound like the old man, but get some life experience in you. I mean, that's really, I feel like that's the ultimate thing that makes you a full, well-rounded individual. I mean, and somebody like yourself who was just like, oh yeah, I can play piano. Let me transcribe this, and we're going to put it in B flat. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which, what scale was that? Do you remember the scale that it was in?
You know, I think it was in C. I think I was
C,
like, I'm going to make this as easy as possible.
Yes.
C, yeah.
So, okay.
No flats, no sharps.
It's so funny because I have a little bit of a musical background. I just, you know, at a very young age, they said, you're going to play tuba. So I was like, okay. And they showed me the B flat scale. And throughout my middle school and high school career, I thought there was only ever one scale, and that was B flat. And it wasn't until I started getting more into percussion and doing marimbas, and I was just like, wait a second, there's more scales than the B flat? I don't understand this. Which, you know, not to say anything bad about my band teachers, but why didn't anybody ever call me out on it? I don't know. But I remember there was a book of solos, and I was just like, I don't know how to play any of these. Well, I'll just transcribe everything into B flat. And that's what I did, because again, that's the only scale I knew. But C on a piano. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's that's where I learned all my scales, was just playing on a piano and be like, oh, okay. So this goes like this. Oh, and this goes like that. And that was it. So,
it's way easier to look at a piano and understand that than I think looking at a tuba. I'm supposed to do what with it? Yeah.
You have what, 20, 22 keys versus 3 valves? Yes. Yeah. It's a little bit easier. But
that's for sure.
But you know, I'm just kind of, I know we touched about it earlier, or I was talking about it earlier. One of the things that I've been very interested in asking people is, you know, how they spent the pandemic. In your case, you know, did you find that your creativity was at an uptick, or were you like myself and millions of other people, like saying, you know what, let me focus on myself for a bit?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was like a little bit of both, I would say. It was like March 25th, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do a lot of writing. I'm going to clean my house. And then I rolled my, well, what did I do? I like pulled my calf muscle.
Oh.
And then I basically like had to like sit in a chair for a month because I like couldn't walk. So it was probably for the best, because I would have been way overly keen and really putting a lot of pressure on myself to like, write the next great novel or something. But I just sort of, I had a month where I sort of chilled, and then so I live in Toronto, and my family's all in Nova Scotia, which is the east coast of Canada. And
yes.
My nan got sick. And so I ended up flying to Nova Scotia sort of peak, like May kind of 2020. And so I spent most of my summer there by the ocean. And it was actually quite nice. Nova Scotia at the time had very, very few cases. Like I'm talking like 3 cases. They like really did a good job during the first few waves of the pandemic, really keeping the numbers down. It was still all locked down and still had to quarantine and do all of those things. But it felt safe. Like when I landed, I was like, ooh, this feels good. and then I ended up actually directing it. I worked on a show. It was called Lockdown. It was a show for YouTube Studios, and it was filmed entirely over Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up, so it was this like tween show. It's kind of like a tween Rear Window, where these group of kids think that they, like 2 of them like live next to each other, and they think that they saw their neighbor digging like a hole in the backyard kind of thing. And they're like, oh, there's been a murder. So the show was filmed with kids. So there was a few kids in Toronto. There was actually, I think one of the guys was in Texas actually. And anyway, so we filmed it, like I was in my living room and they were all on their Zoom, or on their cameras. And it was wild, the creativity that went behind it. We had the computers, and then they had cell phones set up. So basically I was getting like their close-ups and then the wide shot via these two angles, and like the parents were like helping with the wardrobe, and the kids were like blacking out their own windows, and it was a wild process. They did I think there was like, I want to say 9 episodes of the show, and they did a second season. But it was, anyway, it meant that while most of the world was relaxed, I was still working on a show, as was the whole team of people. Like I said, I did 1 episode, and so they had a bunch of other directors and doing the other one. So it was this like really interesting thing where I really get to be a part of, this like resiliency, and like it's like no, like the industry is still gonna go on. So
right.
Even if it's going to be in a weird way. So I found it very inspiring. And then Toronto's industry came back up in August. And so then I came back from Nova Scotia and went back on the floor again. So, I didn't have too much of existential dread, but, certainly shared that with the world in my own way. But I managed to stay busy enough.
It's so funny to see that period when the pandemic was, kicking off and everyone was staying home. And things like Zoom started approaching, and people were transitioning to at-home work. And I don't want to say I got a kick out of it, but it was kind of interesting for me to see, because I've done everything remotely for the beginning of the podcast. Like, Remote and me, we're friends, but seeing these other podcasts, and just like media, like YouTube channels, things like that, going remote, and just like, what do I do? And I'm sitting over here like, You could have just anyone could have just asked me what to do. It would have been fine. I had the equipment ready. Like it's almost like I was preparing for this, but I was like, oh, I have everything. I know what programs to use. Zoom. I had been using Zoom for years. Probably like, I don't know, a lot of years. And when it started catching on, I was just like, Zoom, huh? Okay, I would have never seen that coming just because it was used as like a work thing for me. And now people are hanging out in Zoom, and that blew my mind. And meanwhile, Skype's over here like, hey, what about us? And they're just like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
And anyway.
I know. Yeah, Zoom came out of nowhere for me. I was like, I don't even know what this is. Skype I knew.
Yeah, and so, yeah, just seeing the scramble and me just being like, huh. Okay, this is what I've been training for. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, you're like, I am ready.
But just to kind of button everything up, I hope that, whoever, whether it was actors or just having to film their own stuff, I hope there came an appreciation towards the individuals that do that. Just because like, oh no, I have to do my own lighting. I have to do my own, camera work, my own makeup, stuff like that. That's the biggest thing I hope that came out of it. So
I think it definitely did. I mean, yeah, it certainly did for me. Like it's so, and I just like, for me, like filmmaking really is about community, and it's like, you get this like little film family that you get to be a part of for however long you get to be a part of, and it's wonderful. And then when it all went remote, it's like, yeah, that experience was wonderful to make the movie. And it felt really exciting to be creating in a time of like so much confusion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to make movies in my living room forever. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
I want to be with people, and like even with writing rooms, I still haven't been back to an in-person writing room since the pandemic. And it's just like something about sitting around a table with like great snacks and great creatives and like throwing ideas. I've done the Zoom writing room and it works, and you can get a lot done, and there's no commute. There's pluses with everything, but I think that the magic of sitting around a table is so important, or being on set. And it's still, sets are still hard with all the PPE stuff, and like it's a bit easier now. Like there's a flow to it, people are used to it, the tests are quick, like it's like we've been doing it for quite a while now. But when that first show back in August, it was really, really hard, because it wasn't like we got more time to do the thing. We had the same amount of time we always did, but now, and that was a kid's show. So it's like, I had a mask on, and then I had a shield because I was talking to actors. So I needed double protection. And then it's like talking to kids through 2 layers of like cloth and fabric and plastic.
Yeah.
And then like and then over like a crew of 60 people, it's really just tiring. Just the level that you have to keep your voice at to be heard through everything. It was really, it was and is challenging. But it's also beautiful and exciting. And I think what was interesting to me when the pandemic first hit was like, the government throwing around the words like, who's essential? Like, what's essential?
Yeah.
And then my job was considered not essential. And I was just like, wow, interesting, And then you look at like, it's like, what did people do? What did they turn to? Well, they turn to art, they turn to television, they turn to movies, they turn to books, they turned to art to escape, and yet it's not essential. And have you seen the new HBO show? I think it's called Station 11.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it yet.
Right. Well, it's this show basically about a plague that takes like a flu that like kills most of the world
Mhm.
off, and then it sort of flashes you into 20 years in the future, and now 20 years in the future, the world's been ravaged by this flu, but the basics, like people have shelter, there's food. It's not that kind of chaos.
Oh,
And
okay.
it follows this like traveling group of Shakespeare performers. And
Oh,
it's just this idea that in a like post apocalyptic world, like once the basics are covered, the first thing that comes back is art.
yeah.
It's like, it's so beautiful to me and so absolutely essential. So I think for me personally, the pandemic was like being like, well, I am essential, and the work I do matter. And now it's like, as soon as people were allowed to start filming again, like it hasn't stopped, and it gets more and more because people can't consume enough content, and it's like
Right.
it's really it's been a really interesting journey watching people's relationship to art specifically grow and expand, and I don't know, just sort of like it's just like the importance of that creative imagination that we all get to experience when we consume the media that makes us feel good or feel anything. Like it just
Right.
makes us feel. Remember feeling?
Remember feels. Remember?
Yeah, those things in your body, like
I don't.
make it
I don't
tingle,
like
feel
them.
good or bad.
I don't
Yeah.
like them. Get rid of them. No,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
amazing to think about because this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and just even in the schools, how art is just so overlooked over everything else. Which, like, especially, I don't want to put down anybody in sports, but I feel like sports is such on a high pedestal to,
Hmm.
you have to perform at your max and you have to win and you have to blah blah blah. But what about the idea of, no, what if we kind of take this artistic sense and just kind of learn to explore yourself, explore what you want to do? And it's just like, no, sports, sports, sports. Let's do this. And it's just crazy to me how overlooked art is just in general in the school districts. And I can't
Yes.
I can't say all of them obviously, but that's just kind of the general sense that I feel, cuz sports are never on the chopping block, and I always feel like art is, whether it be,
Always.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy to me. And I don't know, it's just a weird thing that we can honor both. We can do it. I believe
Yes.
we could.
Yes. Yes. 100%. It's like there is room for sports and art. It's like that's my philosophy at everything. There's room for all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, sports are by nature competitive, but I'm like, we don't need to compete. Like, there's
Yes.
room for all of us here. Like, we gotta have some fun and joy, and there's just room for us all. I feel like, yeah, it's like in schools especially, it's very like STEM, but it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
about STEAM. It's about STEAMs up. Then you get your art in there, you get your sports.
Yeah.
Doesn't They don't replace each other. They like the same with like putting, people trying to put me in a box. It's like there you can bring art to science,
Yeah.
you can bring art to math. Like it's math is patterns. Like what's more beautiful than a pattern? It doesn't have to be inclusive of the other. It just there is room for us all.
Yes, exactly. I think we're talking crazy talk, though. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
No, we
The more
must
you
talk it so
say it,
people will hear it, and
uh,
then we'll change the minds and
oh yeah,
grow the world.
oh
And
yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm back on board then. All right, let's do
good,
this.
good, good. Glad to have you back. Welcome back. Missed you.
But okay. So I'm curious. A question that I thought of earlier, but I forgot, but I remembered till now. Kind of going
Right.
back to the whole idea of working on set. Is
Mhm.
there a position in a film crew that you wish you knew more of, or you were better at? Whether, again, various roles on a film set.
Mhm. What a great question. I mean, I'm always wanting to learn about all of the different positions. I'm curious about them. I think that they all matter. I try and make sure that my crew always knows that their contribution matters, that they're valuable to me, and that I care about what they think in their voice for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like for me, like the grips and the gaps, like the lighting, my lighting friends, like I have mad respect for what they're doing. But I feel like I could always learn more, especially about like the technical stuff of all of it. I'm really good at using my flowery language to be like, more light. And I work with very brilliant DPs who are much better at the less flowery directions than that.
Yes,
but you know,
I see you're using the flower index to describe lighting. I'm familiar. Don't worry.
I'm definitely like a flowery, feely talk. I'm like, I want it to feel more cozy. I want it to feel, you know, more intimidating. Like I like to use feeling words, which I think does make it open for interpretation. But I do like the collaboration of that. I think I always try to go in super prepared, and I always try and share my ideas with whoever's going to listen to them, because I think the more on the same page everyone is, the greater your chance of succeeding. And I think I'll always say to people, I'll say it more often than needs to be said, just to make it be heard. You know, not in an annoying way, hopefully, but in a way that, like, you know, I'll say the obvious things out loud just to make sure we're all on the same page. Like, I don't mind stating the obvious, so that it can never be said that it wasn't stated. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, so yeah. You're just covering yourself. I get it.
Yeah. And I want to make sure that I'm being as clear as possible. Yeah. And also so that it gives people an opportunity. Because it's like if I'm like, make it more cozy, my definition of cozy might be different. So then it's like having room to have the conversation. So it's like, I wouldn't just be like, I want it to be more cozy and then walk away, you know.
Bye. Make it happen.
Yeah. Read my mind. You know, it's like, I always want to, as much as possible and as much as time allows, and initiate that conversation. But I also want to empower the people that are the experts in their field to be the experts. You know, I am never walking on set thinking I'm an expert in all of the different departments, because I'm not. I am very excited to be collaborating with the people that are awesome at their jobs and they're on set to play, you know? So it's like, I want them to feel like they get a say in what cozy looks like. And I do think that leads to more creativity and more unexpected awesomeness, because lots of times people have better ideas than me. You know what I mean? And it's like, best idea wins.
Right.
That's, you know, who's got the best idea for this? And like, I'll always have an idea, and I have lots of good ideas, you know, but sometimes, like, if people feel empowered to be like, well, what about this? You know, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's way cooler. Let's do that. You know? So it's like, again, that comes to meditation though, because it's very easy for your ego to be like, right, I'm the director, I'm in charge, it's my way or the highway. And it's like, that's not who I am as a person. That's not who I am as a director. And I don't think that makes the best art.
Right. Yeah, no, there's nothing will ever beat the idea of collaborating with a group of people to create something. I always think that's just so magical, and something that, I don't know, it's in a way romantic to me, just because, like, hey, we're all here in this together doing this. From, you know, the director on down to the person watching the cone in the parking lot. We're all in this together. So
I totally agree. And like sometimes you're on big sets and you can't talk to everyone.
Right.
You maybe don't know every single person's name, but I do, as part of my director prep, try and study my call sheet and try and learn people's names. And, I'm not always successful, but I'm always going to at least like smile and say hi. Which could be a radical thing to say, just being kind to everyone. What?
And like, once again, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like I think it trickles down. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
If I am being my best, most authentic self, I can still get the job done without making everyone around me cry. You know what I mean? But it's also like, it also fosters the relationship both ways. Because if I am being my best, most authentic self, and then, stuff hits the fan, as it does, like, because it's the entertainment industry and it's wild, then it's like, you're more likely to have the crew on your side to help rally and help come up with solutions and to sort of yes and it.
Right.
Versus if you've been a dick the whole time, like, it's like, if you've been a dick the whole time, it's like, you think the crew's going to step up and help you make your day?
Right,
no.
Right.
And why should they? Like, you're taking advantage of them and not treating them like humans. You're like with very valuable skills, especially the guy who's watching the cone.
Exactly.
I have literally been the person that watches the cone. You look at my IMDb and it's like I have like credits and like the weirdest things because you learn. I will stand and watch a cone because I'm like, now I'm on set and that's more experience, and I will be the person who gets the coffee, and I will be the person who writes the script, and I'll be the person who directs it, and now I'm like, okay, I'm less interested in watching the cone, but like, I put in my cone years,
I still wonder about that cone sometimes, but
is it okay?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, and so it's like, everyone is a part of the magic. I always try and when I go to movies now, I always try and sit through the credits because it's like wow, like look at the names up here, like just so many names. It's just like and it's like all of those names are real people, with lives and dreams and heartache and joy, and it's like they put their little stamp on this thing that goes out into the world, and the least I can do is sit through the credits,
Yeah. And not just because you want to see like a after credits scene. No, it's like, no, I'm legitimately, rooting for everyone.
Yeah, totally. So, definitely I feel like the universe rewards me with a little after credits scene for the theater. You're like, I am the last person in this theater and I'm the only one watching this scene and I am thrilled about it.
That was
good for me.
That was my first job, was at a movie theater, and that was always the best thing for me, was when everybody would just leave and I'd be like, ooh, time for me to clean. They're all going to miss that one scene of, I don't know, Captain Barbossa coming back to life, doo-ba-doop-doop-doo, and, just me doing my own thing. But
yeah, so fun, so cool. Oh, I love that you worked in movies.
Oh,
movie theaters.
Oh, yeah. I went to film school in Victoria, BC.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful place to go to film school. Wow, so inspiring.
Tell me about it. And let me tell you, I'll tell you something else. I still don't know how to read a light meter. I don't, that we learned about it and I said, cool. And then for some reason it went out my head, and I'm with you on the flowery part. Like, let's get cozy. Let's be anger. Let's do that thing where it's a fire scene and we're waving our fingers back and forth in front of the light to simulate fire. That's where I'm at, but light meters, I have no idea. It's just a cool necklace in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really funny.
So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the people at home who would like to keep up with you and catch your projects, and all that fun stuff online, where can they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very active over on the old Instagram at Lisa Rose Snow, and I'm pretty active on Twitter as well. So I feel like I'm more of like a Twitter lurker. And then I'm keep my website pretty up to date, which is also lisarosesnow.com. And then I'm also over there on IMDb. I keep that very up to date as well. So I'm pretty easy to find, Lisa Rose Snow. So far, I'm the only one out there, and I shouldn't say anything that you find that is actually me, but definitely on the Instagram and on my website for sure.
Nice. Lisa, thank you so much for chatting with me. Anytime you want to come back and just chat some more or meditate, sensory deprivation tanks, whatever it is, like I'm down. All right.
Cool. I would be very happy to. This has been really fun. I really appreciate you having me on. And I listened to a bunch of your episodes before coming on, and you've got a lovely way about you, and you've got some really wonderful guests. So congratulations on everything.
Thank you. I'm still I super appreciate that. I'm super lucky to chat with the people that I do. So, and you are now one of them. So thank you.
Yay. Great. And if I have any, I need an insider Zoom knowledge guy. You're going to be my number one.
Yeah. Oh my, if you need any info on cameras, mics, recorders, programs, yes, bring it. I helped a band figure out how to live stream once. Cause they were just like, we don't know how to do it. And I was like, oh yeah, you just download this and you do blah, 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 blah. And then that was it.
Yeah, I might actually take you up on that sometime. So.
I'm around.
Cool. I love that.
but I'll let you go, and you have a wonderful rest of your night. Okay.
Thanks so much, and have a lovely day. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, wonderful. Take care. Bye.